Alright, so now we basically have to take this off the glass plate. As you can see, it's stuck on. So basically what we're going to do is look for the light areas and kind of just get the scalpel and jam it in. Alright, so now we've got a model off the build plate. Essentially I'm just going to remove all the crap around the edges, get rid of the support material like under the little fins and that. And we've got quite a lot of end stops as well on the teeth. If I just zoom in, I'll show you. So as the printer finishes on the teeth, basically the hot nozzle melts a bit. So all I'm going to do is essentially sand them down. I've deliberately kind of made them pointed up because I don't want any support material underneath the actual teeth, because it's just going to make an absolute nightmare because I can't essentially get underneath the teeth. So I deliberately designed this so that the support would only be on the really easy to remove areas. I'm going to use these, just some I think they're called needle pliers or something like that. So I'm just using the edge of the knife to just score across the side, just to get any kind of rough, or not rough, but sharp edges off. Alright, so next up we got our Burr Tools. Now basically if you're going to be sanding stuff down on plastic, you've got to be careful, because obviously if something's spinning really quick, it's going to create a lot of friction, therefore it's going to melt. So if you use really small ones, I kind of actually use small ones to cut through plastic, because essentially they just melt everything instantly because they spin so fast. So I'll get some of these. I think it's about 10 quid or something. They're titanium, or I can't remember the metal, but they're really strong and they do the job. So you've got pretty much all the bases to cover, and if you use a bigger burr, then it's less likely to melt your plastic. Basically as simple as that. So I like to go for like a rounded one, just so I don't chip anything or something. So I'm going to go for this kind of oval shaped one. So I'll just do a close-up in case you don't know what a burr looks like, but there you go, that's what a Burr tool looks like. And this is a Dremel, so you can get any one, it doesn't really make any difference. 4,000, 3,000, 6,000. Don't worry about the keep it on a low speed as well. There's no point spinning it too mad fast, because like I said, the quicker it goes, the hotter it gets, and the more likely it is to melt. And make sure you wear gloves and glasses, because you don't want microplastic breathing that in, and you don't want to get any of that going in your eye either. So I'm just going to put my COVID mask on. And I'm going to get some just regular goggles like that, just to stop little bits flying in my eye. So as you can see, it's gotten rid of them quite nicely, relatively quickly as well. You don't have none of that zigzag business from the support material. See, so that's the front, that's the back. It's obviously matte now. So basically what that means is now it's going to be a piece of piss to sand it down, because it's essentially smooth. You don't have to sand so much of that, what do you call it, the kind of the lines out of the support, which can leave a mark. It's just so simple and time saving. Only takes a few minutes. And then you get the green sandpaper out. Alright, so you can just buy yourself a roll from B&Q or something. I use 120, there's no need to go harsher. You can get 80 as well if you want, but there's no point, we've got rid of all the rough stuff with the Dremel. So I'm just gonna go over it now and sand it all out. So just kind of hold it, I don't know, hold it with 2 fingers so that I'm not really putting much pressure on the middle bit and letting the sandpaper kind of lean on the model to kind of sand it off, if you know what I mean. There's a kind of, everyone's got their own techniques of sanding. Right, now you might get slight marks obviously because when the Dremel does hit, it vibrates, it goes brrrr. So you got to get these kind of, every now and then you're going to get like a line where it's going da 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 really quickly. So they're going to be so small, that's why it's nice to go kind of lightly rather than too hard. And either way you can just sand them out anyway. I can't be bothered getting them perfect. They're on the back, it doesn't really matter. They're like sub-millimeter kind of dense anyway. If I show you so this is what the back looks like now after about 10 minutes of sanding. So that's that, which is kind of nice and smooth. And it's gonna be almost perfect when you acetone it later anyway. Yeah, I'm still gonna have to do his teeth a bit, but they don't look that bad actually. So that's what the teeth look like. So this is the time when I'm going to clean up any kind of layer lines or end stops or any imperfections, but this is a really clean print, as you can see. There's no kind of weird lines that go across anything. So it's going to be real walk in the park, as you can see. You'll see the lines there already if there were lines, but there are no lines. So pretty much what I use is 240 and maybe 400 as well, and that's about it. But first go over any rough bits with 120 and then go 240, and then you don't really need to go 400. 240 is alright, but obviously, sorry, I'll hold it in there. If you're going to go to 240, then try and go over the whole lot or as much as you can. Obviously if you go really heavy in one area, try and at least blend it in, otherwise you're going to see it even after acetoning it. So don't leave any marks in it basically, but the acetone does wonders anyway, so see you in a bit. Alright, so these are my sandpaper bits. Either way, after you've used them a bit, they're pretty much useless, but I kind of like them when they've been used up a bit, because when they're kind of fresh they're a little bit harsh. So this is my 240 and this is a clean 240. So you might want to use the clean ones just to get the nice kind of bits out first, and then move on to kind of used up one just to smooth it out a bit. But again, everyone's got their own methods of kind of how they sand stuff out, because this sandpaper 240 is pretty much too light to do any damage. You can just go all over it, doesn't matter. It's not going to do any damage. It's literally just kind of slightly sanding the edges out. You can see kind of the subtle layer inaccuracies just by wiping it vertically like that against the grain, as you can see there. Hold on. So, you know, I mean, there aren't really any layers in this. It looks like there are, but trust me, once you acetone that, you won't even see that. It'll all be completely kind of silky smooth. So yeah, this print came out pretty sweet. So just looking at it like that. Anyway, kind of go over everything. If you want to be perfect, like a jeweler would be perfect, he would polish the shit out of his work just to make it nice, shiny, just like people who finish cars. They just spend hours on doing those coats. So it's worth putting the time in, because the more time you put in, the better it's going to look. It's as simple as that. It's going to look perfect. Don't expect anything to ever come out of a printer perfect. It's like, it's not going to happen. Either you put in the time before or you put in the time after. Either way, you're putting in time into that print. So I kind of like a bit of handiwork, because once you kind of learn how glues, sandpaper and all that works, then you can fix so much shit up around your house. It's pretty amazing. Anyway, I'm just going to go over it and sand all of the bits out to make it as nice as I can, and you can watch me do it. Another thing is, you don't actually have to go as hardcore as I'm going. It's just that the more acetone you leave on it, the longer it will smooth, but the more chance of it splitting, even though if you use infill, the chances of it splitting are pretty much zero. It won't split, as I've learned. So don't worry about over dipping it if you've got infill. But yeah, if you're worrying about these lines, they're going to be so subtle that the average person, like 99% of people, will go, what are you complaining about? So don't worry about it too much. I'm just doing it for the sake of it, because I want it to be really nice and perfect, especially if it's shiny. You want shiny things to be perfect. That's why people polish shiny things. So consider this sanding, it's polishing rather than sanding, because you're not really sanding anything. You're sanding like maybe a micron, a couple of microns at most. So think of it like that. Think of it as a polish rather than a sand. I mean, you know, it's not even going to fix the end. I'll need to go with heavier sandpaper to fix that, because this sandpaper isn't doing shit really. Also, just to note, if there's like a crease, then don't sand across the crease. Kind of sand alongside it, if that makes sense. That way you'll keep the natural features of the crease. Okay, so the next stage is for this, we're going to give this some weight. So rather than being like this, it's going to be like, it's going to be solid. So we're going to fill it. And what we're going to fill it with is plaster of Paris, or fine plaster of Paris, as someone said that they got some regular plaster of Paris and it, it didn't fit in the injection. So first we're going to drill holes in the back. So you're going to need a drill, and you're going to need a drill head that's pretty much larger than 1.2 millimeters. I'd go for like 3 or 2 millimeters or something, just to be sure, because if it's too tight, then putting the needle in is going to be a bit awkward. So I'm just going to go ahead, and because I don't know if you can see, but this has got infill in it, so you can see the honeycomb pattern, or the triangle pattern as it is in this one. I'm just going to essentially drill inside each hole and then fill it up. So I'm just going to put this on fast forward while I drill the holes. Alright, that's pretty much most of them done. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to mix up some fine casting plaster into a pot and inject it inside. I'll be back in 2 seconds. Right, so I've got my fine plus casting powder of Paris, or whatever, superior plaster of Paris. 5 kilos of that, whatever. I'm sure you can buy that on eBay for fairly cheap. I've got like, I think 20 kilos of that. It cost me I think £15, £20, something. And I've got my bit of water in there. So essentially I'm just gonna keep pouring until it hits a fairly, with this spoon I'm gonna put it in, a fairly kind of creamy kind of consistency. Alright, now it's like proper thick. So I have a feeling it's going to start setting soon, so I'm going to have to work fast. Needle. And start injecting. It's already gotten blocked. So I've gotten a smaller needle now. I'm working really quickly. Sorry I missed the beginning. And I'm just going through bit by bit, filling up all the holes. With a fat needle, it's just, you don't have as much control because you have to hold it much higher. You can do this all one-handed with a small needle. I'm just hoping that it doesn't set. You can see where it's gone in, and holding up to the light. So where's the camera? So just So work your way around, try and pray that the stuff doesn't seize up before you get your needle in. I can see its consistency is already like, it's already seizing up in here. Look, it's not even pouring out. So this is like, time is critical. Look, it's just totally set. I'm injecting lumps of stuff in here through a needle that's going to get blocked any second now. I'm going to call it a day. I'm going to mix up some new stuff because as you can see that didn't work out. Alright, I got another glass because I just wrecked it last time. So this time I'm going to keep it a little bit more diluted. So I've got my new syringe now and I'm just going through them all, reloading them. But the one problem I've got now is that because I wiped it from the last time, they're all sealed up, and then as I'm putting my syringe in, it's essentially blocking it up. And that's it. I'm just going to let that sit. And I'm going to clean all this stuff up now, because when you're using plaster, it's just a mess. Look at my trousers, I've got white dots all over them. And that's just typical if you kind of squeeze it out too quickly. But here's a prime example of why you shouldn't really mix it too thick, because your work time is drastically reduced. I'm going to have to go and wash this up now because it's a total state. Alright, so as you can see, it gets damn messy. I don't like it. So yeah, I normally do not drill like a million holes in the back, because then I'm going to have to if I want to metal plate this, then I'm going to have to kind of clean them all up and seal it. Otherwise that's going to contaminate my plating solution. But anyway, that's pretty much it now before the acetone. So I'm going to wait for the plaster to completely cure. I'm going to leave it overnight just to be sure. It's kind of warm now. You can feel it's working when it's all warm. And yeah, after that I'll come back and then I'll acetone it. Hi there. So now I'm just going to put some acetone, wipe it across the model. Once you've gone heavy, try not to go over the same area too much, because then you'll just be like mushing the acetone around. Alright, I think I'm done here. I'll just go a little bit more. And remember, if your pieces are too thin, they're quite likely to warp. Alright. Now what you might want to do, what I normally tend to do is empty it out, blow it out of the crevices like the eyes and stuff like that. But whatever, I'm just gonna leave this and it will go white as it's already doing. Alright, so after I've given it about, I don't know, five minutes, I'll get a brush, just like a cheap brush. You can probably pick these up on eBay for like 50 cents or something. I just made of plastic bristles and they're fairly hard. So you gotta wait for it to kind of chill out a bit and then literally go over it. Just smoothing it out basically. And you're also adding, it's like you're semi-polishing it. And you're getting rid of some of that weird white stuff as well. So make sure you're getting all the little gaps. Obviously I'm not going to be able to get inside his mouth, but that shouldn't be a problem. So I'll do some close-ups of how it looks so far. So I've spent an additional couple of minutes like sanding it down with 400 as well as the original 240. So here we go, I'm going to give it a shot now. I'm just going to get my syringe, inject a bit of chrome paint, put it in my airbrush, and you're going to see me spray it. I really don't like these crappy syringes. I don't even know how people use them. Anyway, just put that to the side, and here we go. Alright, I think I might leave it there, but it looks pretty nice now. Alright, I'll do a close-up in a minute. So here's the final shark. Sprayed up, done. Nice reflections. So yeah, that's that. So there we have it. My Finding Nemo kind of Takeshi 69 shark. It's a bit ghetto style, but what the hell, the reflections are really good on this one. So there you go.